You're listening to Mark Langley's Horsemanship Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping people find solutions in a calm, connected way. I'm Jenny Langley, and with me is Mark Langley. This week, we're going to be talking about horses out on trail, and specifically horses that freeze or get really worried despite doing the same track over and over again. Sound familiar? Listen for some advice. Mark, the first question for you this morning comes from Louisa, who is training a Highland cross who hasn't had a lot of exposure to other horses when he's out. But he can sometimes see or smell or hear horses in the distance, and he'll start calling out to them. Then he freezes. And then what happens is quite alarming. He'll buck until Louisa comes off, and then he'll run towards what he's looking for or what he's heard. Louisa would like to know what she should be doing when he does this. Should she try and circle him when he freezes? His neck is quite short and he totally locks, and then he goes on to this full sort of bronc riding horse. Other times he is on a loose rein and he's delightful to ride. So she's wondering what she can do. And obviously we don't want her horse bucking her off. This is terrible.
Well, I guess there is one solution. There was an old saying I heard, I think Ray Hunt said it at a clinic, because I used to deal with someone years ago who went to watch Ray's clinic in the New England area in New South Wales, Australia, and someone asked a question, and it was, what happens if our horse bolts, Ray, and runs off? He says, well, I never seen a horse can run faster than I can ride it. And so one solution is go to a bronc riding school and become a master bronc rider and just ride that horse as fast as it can go until it slows down. That was the old school way. But by the sounds of it, that's the hard, arduous way around it. We actually ideally don't want our horses to go through all that at all. So the first thing, if you were going to sort of ask for, if you don't want that solution, become a master bronc rider and just ride the horse till it all dissipates, then you might want to get a soft horse by going back to the basics a little bit. By the sounds of it, I wouldn't be, if the horse has already started to sort of get to that stage out that it bucks and it keeps bucking, then I would be going back to a safer environment where there's less distraction, and I would go through the basics. Now, the first thing that really sort of was a bit of a red flag in the question was, he's short and stiff in the neck, and so he can lock up in the reins. Okay, so I'm a big scaredy cat now compared to what I used to be when I ride horses. So some people think, but I ride that horse and I feel safe on it. And I'll be sitting on someone's horse at a clinic or something, and I'll say, I've only met this horse today, so I don't really listen to anybody and what they tell me the horse can do. I feel the horse and go, this horse feels troubled. And if I didn't know the horse and someone dropped it off a truck and said, yeah, it's a riding horse, but I picked it up at the dogger's pen and I had to ride that horse, I would treat it as if that horse was a dangerous horse and it had hurt someone along the way, even though an owner says, I ride it all the time. Because when I feel the horse, I can feel the same problems in a horse that someone rides all the time than a horse that actually bucks and bolts and has become very dangerous. And I go, if I feel those same symptoms and those same things, then I keep it in a safe place and I work on certain things until the horse tells me I'm okay. That as in the horse feels okay and it's okay with me on it and it's okay with the certain questions I'm asking. If I don't feel that okayness, I don't open the gate and go out. As I say, no matter how people say, it's safe, it's right, I ride it all the time. Okay, because I can't do that mentally anymore, because gut feel is what made me survive for all these years, not what other people said the horse can and can't do. So going back to you and your horse, you don't need gut feel anymore. You've got experience to say that this horse has done some things that have made you fall off. So we go back to the drawing board, and the drawing board will be go back in and teach that horse to lead amazingly again in the lead rope. So you can lead it up softly, you can back it up softly, you can lower its head, you can create some flexion in the horse and put a indirect hindquarter yield rein on and lift the rein, and the horse bends softly and releases the body, moves around, releasing the hindquarter. You can move the forequarter over, and the horse just loves leading amazingly. And then when you go back to riding, you go back to your very simple, I'm going to teach you how to follow a rein. You might ride in a side pull or a halter first in a safe yard, just so you can hold and you're not holding the bit, especially if the horses start to get really trapped feeling in the bit. You teach them to lead amazingly through the left and right rein, back up amazingly. And I don't touch a horse like that with legs for quite, not quite some time. It might be a week. I might just ride them until I can pick up a rein, take it right back past my hip, and the horse turns as if it's in a really small elevator to turn and go out the door behind it. If when you're in an elevator, you've got two doors and one opens, but you think one's going to open, then one opens behind you. You've got to turn around with your suitcase. Well, you've got to turn around in a tight space, really tight, and that horse can flow through that rein really well. Once the horse can flow through those reins really well and there's no feeling of trappedness and the body's loose and the horse is blinking and thinking, the ears are moving softly, then the horse is starting to trust pressure. Why do they have to trust that leading pressure so well? Is because that's what gets you out of trouble when you're outside. A horse trusting the most common tools that we use. When people say, I sing to my horse, I whistle to my horse and all that, the most common tool we use to get a horse out of trouble is picking up a rein and redirecting the horse's thoughts and body. The other most common tool when we accelerate a horse is our lower leg when in the learning process. The two most troubling tools to horses that I come across all the time is the reins, because they feel trapped in the reins, and the legs. So it's like the two tools we use the most seem to be the most common tools at trauma horses. So that's why I go back to those two tools until the horse really trusts them and understands them. No seat, no fancy stuff, no, all this other stuff that might relax the horse. It's the two tools that make the horse feel trapped or worried. And I go back and fix them. Now, in that process, every time you pick up a rein with a hyper-focused horse like that, he's going to have strong thoughts. But you're going to hold that rein till he lets go of the thought and he softens. When you're on the ground with him, when you're just walking around, interrupt those outward long thoughts, whether you pop a flag, bang your leg, do something until he resets that thought and comes back to centre. Centre means he comes back into the space where you are and he is, and make that a habit until you can walk him anywhere on a lead rope and he's centred and he's soft. He's not constantly looking out somewhere else, because that habit, if that habit is still with him when you just walk him around on a lead, it'll only amplify the further you go out under saddle into new environments. So that habit has to be pretty well gone on the ground. It has to be gone under saddle in the yards, that he's soft-centered and you can pick up a rein, he lets go of a thought straight away and comes back into your space and his space and rides with you in that environment, until every time you touch a rein, he can let go of a thought, soften, reconnect back with you and say, I'm safe here. Make that a habit and then go and ride him out. And only go to a space that's, maybe a space that's outside where your safe space is, but it's further out. Make sure you get that same feeling. And then anytime you feel that tension rise, the further you go out, you use the reins to bring him back into that space that you felt when he was in a really good space, in the safe space, in the yards. And you put a proper reset back in their brain. It might sound like a lot of work, but being laid up in hospital or wheelchairs is not nice either. Okay, so you fix those things and you just go back to a bit of a restart and get those things right. The hyper-focus is the one, and it goes back to another podcast that we've done about hyper-focus, which might be worth listening to, is hyper-focus becomes a very strong habit in horses, and we have to get them to be in a soft mindset. So the hyper-focus is the biggest thing you want to think about, and then all that reinsmanship that I just talked about.
So the hyperfocus is causing the freeze, and I would have thought it'd be the freeze that you tackle, but you're saying just have some more tools to how to stop him, be more controllable before he bucks or when he's bucking.
Yeah, well, I went in that order because my brain was going in that direction, in the sense that by the sounds of it, he's locked up on the reins. So that needs to be fixed. In that process of leading, you will be fixing hyperfocus.
Yeah.
And that's why I went into hyperfocus, because I said, I've really got to mention this as well, because there's other ways we can, help with hyperfocus. And it could be just redirecting his thoughts, as I said, through the flag. But then every time you pick up a rope, pick up a rein, you're looking for the change of thought. So you have to add that into your mental notes. When you pick up the rein, it's not just I'm just walking over here and it's a one rein start. It's I'm letting go of that thought and I'm coming back into a space. So when a horse turns, say for instance he was looking out left and you picked up the right rein, and when he turns, he just doesn't go, oh, I'm going to go to the gate to the right and think over there. He actually softens, comes through the turn, acknowledges the space that he is and you're in, and when he comes out softly, and his mind is only in that space, not somewhere else. So even when you do your one rein starts and your reinsmanship and you get him to loosen up in the yards, he's not going from one target to the other. He has to be probing, softly walking around. And when you back him up and loose on those reins and you just let him hang, he just stops and he just hangs there and he just relaxes in that space and he's happy there. He's not hunting to be anywhere else. For everyone, I just did a clinic, and one of the ladies, she's done an amazing job on a horse from when I first met it. And she still has a little problem with him sort of destinating up the hill. So I rode him for 3 days, and all I worked on was let go of that thought, come back into this space on the first day. But then when I rode him the second day, he stayed in his space, and I could teach him a whole bunch of other things. They were the same things, but improving them. But I didn't have to keep reminding him because he was in his space for the session like I didn't. And every time I pulled the rein, he followed the rein properly. I didn't have to say, let go of that thought, let go of that thought. Whereas the first day I put a lot of my effort into let go of that thought and stay into this space and think back through me as you turn as well. Once he figured that out, I didn't have to do much. So if you do it right and you stick to it, you'll find you won't have to do it every day, and it's not doom and gloom and all this hard work. You just got to stick to it until the horse really understands it. And I think one of the leading factors why horses are so troubled in life is we teach them half of something, and then we teach them half of something else and half of something else and half of something else. And then they go out with 10 half tools that they don't really understand, and then it becomes all a muddle. So you teach them one tool till they understand it.
Can I just ask, when the horse freezes out on trail, when he can smell or hear the other horses, is that from curiosity or a lack of confidence?
Well, freeze would be lack of confidence. A horse will freeze. A curiosity is the horse will go, I can smell something, where is it? And I'm just going to investigate quietly and stay in a mental state of flow. A freeze is when it's like something's happening and I don't know what to do. And if he's got buck and everything that goes with it, then it's lack of confidence. And he just has to go out a little slower. Like I've talked about this before in the past a lot with people, is like you've got a safe space, as that's the space you start working your horse in, and then you take them out of that space and back into that space. And then what happens is that's allied territory, and then you go into enemy territory, but allied territory is not far away. And as you expand that horse's distance that goes away from a safe place, then that area becomes allied territory, which means they feel safe because there's a safe space close. Eventually you're the safe space, and they take that safe space everywhere because they're a lot more confident.
So does the leading also help establish a bit of confidence in you as a leader?
Yep, and the lead rope. So there's confidence in us that when we use our lead rope, we're teaching them to follow a feel to soften that we've had a hand in guiding. So though that rope is, sometimes I say, the rope is with the horse when it's tied up and our hand's not on that rope, but it's through our hand that horse learnt the rope. So the horse learns that when it's around us and we pull on that rope, it's going to feel a lot better. So it starts to trust us and the rope. They get more connected with us and trust us more.
Okay, I hope that's giving you some things to work on, Louisa. It sounds like there's a bit of content there and certainly some direction for you. So good luck, and I hope you don't get bucked off again. Next question is from Andrea, and it's the same thing with riding out and problems with riding out with a horse. She's got a horse that goes up the same road all the time. It's a quiet country gravel road, and they've been going up there probably over 100 times. She's been experimenting deliberately, going on the same route to see what happens, to see if she can improve his relaxation and focus. But she's finding that the same cows and kangaroos can worry him on some trips. She would like to do the route worry-free, and she'd like to then go in a different direction to try and see if she can expand, his capacity to cope with not so much anxiety. But she's just wondering that, why is this happening, that she can go up the same road every time and he can still have these moments of anxiety, and what she can do to reconnect with him.
So everything that I talked about in the last question, listen to it, and just sort of work out my seriousness on the reins work and the letting go of thoughts with our rein work and our leading. Now there are some horses that investigate for the herd, and they're more the ones that tell everyone that the cows on the hill are okay and the kangaroos are okay and whatever, and the other horses go, good, I'm glad they can do it because I'm not very good at it. Sometimes we are riding the horse out. This is the one that's not the one that's going to do the investigating and the ticking off stuff, which is a bit unfortunate because it makes it a little harder for us, to help those horses. But either way, we can help horses develop more confidence in our training through giving them tools that they don't have or haven't got themselves. So the horse on the last clinic, I'll tell a story about that horse. He suffers from a similar problem. So what his problem was, and now he would always freeze when he saw cows, and we took him out in the cows at this clinic. But what I did with